Let me tell you about the importance of reading your Bible. Yesterday, I made a video about Deuteronomy 7. I read through Deuteronomy 7 and all these speculations about what was going on in there and kind of diving deeper into the text. The good news is that I seem to have been correct in a lot of my speculation, which is great. That means like my mind's on the right track with all this stuff. But let me tell you what I'm talking about. So yesterday, I was wondering about why God was telling the Israelites to go and destroy all these nations. Well, if you read on and in Deuteronomy 9, it says the people are strong and tall, descendants of the famous Anakite giants. And so I was like, okay, well I think I'm on track with what I said because I was like, I wonder if they're like descendants of the Nephilim. And so I did a quick Google about like the Anakite giants, and sure enough, at least that's what Google says, is that yes, they were the descendants of the Nephilim. So I just thought that was interesting. As I go through from 8 through 11, I'm going to read a couple of highlighted parts and just kind of give you my thoughts on that. So it says, beware in your plenty, do not forget the Lord your God and disobey his commands, regulations, and decrees I'm giving you today. Later it says, do not become proud at that time and forget the Lord your God. And I think this is so easy for us, and I've talked about it before. A lot of people other people have as well. But it's really easy to want and seek after God when you're kind of at a low point. You know, you feel like you need somebody else coming in to help you. But when you have everything you need, life's going great. It's pretty easy to rely on yourself, rely on things like money instead of relying on God. But as they say, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So going on, continuing, he also says, he did this to humble you and test you for your own good. And this is in relation to, wandering through the wilderness, because they wandered through the wilderness for 40 years. And I was looking at a map, and according to this map and the description with it, it says that this whole trip that the Israelites took for 40 years could have been accomplished in like 11 days or something like that. So it really was a test. Right. So anyways, he says that he did this to humble and test you for your own good. He did this so that you would never say to yourself, I have achieved this wealth with my own strength and energy. Remember the Lord your God. He is the one who gives you power to be successful in order to fulfill the covenant he confirmed to your ancestors with an oath. So that just kind of confirms what I was just saying as far as, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Everything that we have is a gift from God. And as much as we can be blessed and feel that we're made whole, whether it's because we feel like it's from our own accord or because it's a gift from God, he can just as easily strip it all away. Later on, he says, you must recognize that the Lord your God is not giving you the good land because you are good, for you are not. You are a stubborn people. And this also kind of, what's what I'm looking for, addresses the idea that, bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. And he's just saying that, good or bad, he is, in a sense, using the Israelites to fulfill his will on earth. And from the previous passage in 7, he was saying that he could have chosen another people. He also says, I don't know if it's something coming up or because I can't remember where I read things. But he basically says that, he didn't have to use these people. He said he could have wiped them all out and used their children. Right? So he's like, I'm using you, but I didn't have to. I could have waited till you had kids, because he had to use the Israelites because of the oath he made to Abraham, the covenant he made with Abraham. But he didn't have to use these specific Israelites. So I guess the point that he's saying is that, hey, be grateful for what you have, because this could have gone a different way. Later on in Deuteronomy 9 still, he said, leave me alone. So this is Moses talking now. And he says, leave me alone so I may destroy them and erase their, this is God talking. He says, leave me alone so I may destroy them and erase their name from under heaven. Then I will make a mighty nation of your descendants, a nation larger and more powerful than they are. So again, just talking about, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself because that's what I was talking about, that line there. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. Continuing on, we're now in Deuteronomy 10. He said, and you must always obey the Lord's commands and decrees that I'm giving to you today for your own good. And so this is just stating, this is Moses talking to the Israelites saying that everything I'm telling you, it's not because we're going to have rules just for the sake of having rules or so that God can feel good about himself. He's saying this is for your own good, Follow these commandments, and you will live a more fruitful life, and so will those around you. And then later he says, therefore, change your hearts and stop being stubborn. This is funny because my Bible has little asterisks where it has footnotes. And the footnote on this one says, Hebrews, circumcise the foreskin of your hearts, which I think they should have said that because it's pretty funny. But what he's saying here is you actually have to make a change. You need to change. And the circumcision is a physical demonstration of your willingness to sacrifice for God, right? So in here it's saying, change your heart, like physically change your heart. Soften your heart by softening your mind and be willing to listen to God and obey him. One last section in Deuteronomy 10, and then I'll let you guys go if you're still here. It says, so you too must show love to foreigners, for you yourselves were once foreigners in the land of Egypt. I highlighted that because right now in the United States, it is no secret that there's a huge conflict between the left and the right in regards to illegal aliens or whatever you want to call the people that are in the country without documentation. I've always been, I don't ever want this channel to be political, but I think it's important to share my stance on it. My belief is that anybody in this country should be here legally, in the same way that if I ever moved to another country, I would want to do it legally. And if I entered that country illegally, I would have no expectation that I would be allowed to stay. Now, that being said, for those that are here, and in the same way, if I was in another country illegally, I would be expected to be treated with respect. Now, would they kick me out? Sure, that's fine and understandable. But how they treated me during that process, I think would be very important. So, while I support removing people that shouldn't be here according to the law, I think how we treat them throughout that process is very important. There's no reason that we should treat them any different than someone that lives next door to us as far as our personal interactions. I think a lot of people need to hear that because it's really easy to other people, but we have to remember that we are all created in God's image. So I have people ask me from time to time, like, why should I love so-and-so? It could be someone that committed a crime against them, maybe someone that just hurt them. They could be a group of people that hurt them. And my answer is, they're just like you and me. They've had different circumstances. Maybe they're brought up in a different situation, and maybe they don't have faith. They don't have Jesus. And so therefore the enemy whispers into their ear and creates actions. In fact, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was saying, we are called to hate evil. And I completely agree. We are called to hate evil actions. We are called to hate evil. We are not called to hate people. I don't believe that people are evil. I believe people can be influenced by evil forces, and their actions can be evil. So a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but I think that's just important to note. And then the last thing I highlight is the very last section of Deuteronomy 10. And this says, when your ancestors went down into Egypt, there were only 70 of them. But now the Lord your God has made you as numerous as the stars in the sky. I also just finished reading Numbers, and the Numbers talks about how many Israelites there are wandering around the wilderness. And there's, I can't remember the exact number, but it's like 600,000 plus Israelites. So it's pretty cool. And another question that a lot of people have is, how in the world did we all come from Noah? Because we're all descendants of Adam and Eve, right? But then Noah's ark happened, and that family, they were the only people that survived. So we're all descendants of Noah as well. And how did we populate the entire world? And just watching during that period from when the Israelites first entered into Egypt until this point in the Bible, and watching that growth population, I just think that's a pretty cool descriptor. Also, it's showing further proof that God kept his promise to Abraham, because he told Abraham that his descendants would, grow to numbers that would meet those of stars in the sky. So that's all I have for now. I'm going to keep on reading. I hope you're reading with me, and we'll see you soon.